Do you still have issues with sewing bustiers that fit perfectly? Then this video is for you. This video is going to be a two-in-one tutorial. First, I'll teach you how to contour your overbust and your underbust perfectly. Then I'll teach you how to install your exaggerated hip, the trendy conical hip. I'll teach you how to install it on your skirt. Hello everyone, it's Esther Prara. Welcome back to my channel where I post detailed sewing tutorial every week. So go ahead and tap on the subscribe button so you don't get to miss any of my latest sewing tips and tricks. Without further ado, let's jump into class. So here are the fabrics that I'm going to be using. 2 yards of Ankara, half yard of lace. Then I use doll face satin as my lining. So let's move forward. The first thing I did was to mark my starting point line, which I've done already. Then I'll mark my vertical lines. So the first vertical line I'm going to draw is my chest line. My chest line is my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 2.5. So if I do that calculation for myself, it will give me 8.5. Then I'll go ahead and mark the rest of my vertical measurement. So I'm going to draw all the lines now. So this is my shoulder to chest line. This is my shoulder to nipple line, which is 10 inches. Then this is my shoulder to underbust, which is 13.5 inches. Then the last but not the least is my shoulder to front half length, which is 17 inches. So these are my vertical lines. So my vertical lines are done. So the next thing I want to draw is my shoulder measurement. So my shoulder is 14 inches. 14 divided by 2 will give me 7 inches. So I'm going to mark it on my shoulder line. So I've marked the 7 inches. Then I'm going to mark my basic neckline. Your basic neckline is 3 by 3. Even if you are going to alter the neckline later, just mark this 3 by 3 first. So under my shoulder measurement, I'm going to come down by the shoulder slope, which is 1.5. So now I'm going to connect my neckline. So I'm connecting my neckline now with a curve. After connecting my neckline, then I'll connect my shoulder slope. From that 1.5 that I went down by, I'll connect it to the neckline, just like I'm doing. Okay, so that is done. So that same measurement of my shoulder that I marked on my shoulder line, I'll mark it on my chest line, which is 7 inches. That's my shoulder divided by 2. Then I'll connect the lines. Can you see what I'm doing? I'm connecting it to the shoulder slope. Can you see it? So that's perfectly done. So to curve my armhole, I will need to impute my bust measurement. My bust is 36. 36 divided by 4 is 9. So I'm going to mark 9 inches. Then I'll connect my armhole with a smooth curve. Before curving it, I'm going to go up from the chest line by 2.5 or 3 inches. Then at that point, I will go in by 0.75. This is to give me a smooth curve. So I'm going to connect those 3 points first with a straight line. Then I'll use my curve ruler to finish it up. Can you see how beautiful that armhole is? The next thing I'm going to do is to impute my body measurement. So I'm going to ignore my underbust and go straight to my waistline. My waist is 30 inches. So 30 divided by 4 will give me 7.5. I'll mark it and I'll add 1.5 as my dart intake. So now I'll connect from my bust to that my waistline that I marked now. I'll connect them together with a straight line. Then I'll go ahead to impute my bust span measurement. My bust span measurement is 7 inches. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So I'm going to impute it on my shoulder to nipple line, then on my waistline. You see it? Then I'll connect it into a straight line. So on my waistline, I will impute my dart intake, which is 1.5. I'll share that 1.5 on both sides, which is 0.75 on both sides. Then I'll go to my shoulder to nipple line. I'll come down from this line by 1 inch. Then I'll connect it. You see it? This is my dart. Looking very beautiful, right? Let's continue. So the next thing I want to do is to impute our bust dart. You know, our front half length and our back half length is different. The front half length is 17 inches, while the back half length is 15 inches. So you have to subtract it. You will get 2 inches. So that is what I marked there as my bust dart. You just use the difference between your front half length and your back half length to get your bust dart. Mine is 2. So that is what I drew there. So the next thing we want to do is to contour our underbust. So the easiest way is to use these figures on your screen right now. So the center front, which is the smaller part, is going to take the smaller measurement. Like in my case, it's going to take ½ inch. Then the other part is going to take 1 inch. because my bust is 36. So go through that figure again and use it for yourself. It works perfectly. Just use it. So I'm going to connect it. I use half on the smaller place and I use one on the side. That's the side front. I used one, and the center front side I use half. So I'm going to connect it using my curve ruler. Always make sure that your ruler is facing up. The curve area is facing up. So I'm going to connect it from that bust point, from that part that I came down by one. I'm going to connect it. Then I'll also connect this other side. After contouring the underbust, the next thing I want to do is to connect from that underbust down to your waistline, down to your dart leg. Just take it down to your dart leg, just like this. Then on this other side, I will not take it straight to my dart leg. I will come out by ½ inch. I came out by ½ inch. I'll connect it. That ½ inch that you came out back is just to reduce the sharpness, so that that place will not look like a flay. So that ½ inch that you came out by, you are going to return it so that you will not have shortage. So I'll come to the side here and return that half. That half that I came out at that side, I'll bring it here. Then I'll connect it back to my bust. You see it? So I'll just connect it straight to my bust. That will be the new side line. You understand? That when I want to cut now, that's where I will cut from. Do you understand? Okay, let's continue. Now that our underbust contouring is done, the next thing we're going to do is to go to our overbust. So we want to tighten our overbust. So what I will do is I will share whatever I have in this my shoulder slope. Whatever measurement is there, I'll share it into two. I'll get the midpoint, the midline. So I'll just share it into two, get the midpoint, then connect it to my bust point. I'll use my ruler to connect it to my bust point, just like this. Good. So now I'm going to get how deep I want my off shoulder to be. You know, this is an off shoulder dress. Have you taken note that this is an off shoulder dress? It's an off shoulder dress that has a yoke, and that yoke turned it into a shoulder dress. So I'm going to get how deep I want my off shoulder to be. So I got 5. I used 5 inches. So on this line where it intercepts, I'm going to do my overbust tightening. So I'm going to use 0.75 on both sides. Altogether is going to be 1.5. So I'm going to connect it to the bust point. So this is my overbust tightening. This is what is going to help this dress to stay perfectly on my body, not moving. So we have gotten our perfect overbust contour. Now let's move to the neckline. So to get that beautiful neckline design, I'm going to go in at this point by 1.5. So that when it opens, it's going to be 3 inches. Then I'm going to connect it to my chest line with a V, with a slant like this. Then to finish up the neckline, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go up on the chest line by 1.5, just like this. Then I'll connect it to that V slant. But before I do that, I have to close this overbust so that we will get a smooth line. So to get the trick to get this is I'm going to fold my paper on my shoulder to nipple line. You see it just like this. Then it will be easy for me to close my overbust. Just do it like this. If you want to close your overbust, first of all, fold your paper on your shoulder to nipple line. So after doing this, then I can connect easily. So I'll connect from that my V there to my armhole. Can you see it? To that part where I went up. See, nice. Then I'll use my tracing wheel to trace it out so that by the time I open it, I will know where to follow, where to cut. So I'm tracing it out with my tracing wheel now. Then I'll open it up. After tracing, now I'll open it up. You see? So everything has come out. I'll use my pencil to just trace that part that I just traced with my tracing wheel. You see it? So that is perfectly done. We have a perfect neckline design. So just make sure yours is like this. When I see yours, I want yours to come out as beautiful as mine, okay? So guys, the next thing I want to do is to get my yoke, the one that will turn our off-shoulder dress into a shoulder dress. So what I will do is from the armhole here, I'm going to go in by 3 inches. Then I'll connect it to the neckline. On that neckline area, I think I came down by 2. I came out by 2. So I'll connect from the shoulder to the neckline, just like I'm doing right now. I'll just connect it. So that will give us our yoke. We will cut it out separately, but we'll attach it. When we're attaching the off shoulder, we'll attach it so that it becomes a shoulder dress, okay? So I'm going to label it yoke. So now we are just going to cut it out. Before we cut out, there's something I want to do. Let's tighten this yoke, that tip of the shoulder. Let's tighten it. If we don't tighten it, when you wear it, your dress might be falling off your shoulder. So what we are going to do now, we are going to tighten it by coming down at that tip. that shoulder tip there, I'm going to come down by half, then I'll connect it back. This one, this what we just did now is going to make us, we're going to make our dress to sit perfectly on our shoulder. You see it? So I'm going to connect it back to my armhole. Good. Perfect. So after doing that, you are good to go. Just cut that part off. You are not going to short anything. Nothing is going to be short. So I'm just trying to shade out everything that is going out. So this is the overbust contouring, is going out. Then the underbust contouring too is going out. All these shaded parts, all the parts that I'm shading are the parts we are going to cut out. They are no longer needed. I'm also going to shade our bust dart. Yes, our bust dart is going out. We are going to close it. It's not going to, we are just going to close it. So these shaded parts are the parts that are not necessary. So just watch while I cut. Just watch where I'm cutting so that you don't get confused. Just watch what I'm doing. Please watch this part keenly so that you don't make a mistake, okay? I'm not going to fast forward it. I just want you to watch exactly what I'm cutting. So just go ahead and cut the way I am cutting it, okay? So now I'm going to cut out the yoke. I'm going to detach the yoke. So we have detached the yoke from the bodice, from the off shoulder. Now this is the yoke. So I'm going to just cut it out. Because I put my paper on fold, that's why you're seeing. You don't necessarily need to put your paper on fold. I wanted to get the full part. That's why I cut it on fold. But if you're working on your own, it's just because of tutorial purpose. So I'm trying to cut out the yoke now. Okay, so this is our yoke. Our yoke is ready. So by the time we attach it back, this is what it's going to look like. Okay, so now let's continue. I'm cutting out the overbust contouring now. It's going to go out. It's no longer part, it's no longer needed. So we are going to cut that out. Just watch what I'm doing. Just follow the process. I want you to follow what I'm cutting so that you don't get confused in case you're a beginner. So now I want to cut, I want to close my bust dart. So this is my bust dart. I'm closing it. I'm just going to close it permanently. I'll use my paper tape to close it permanently so that it will match up with the back. You know, if I don't close, the back is going to be 15 inches. If I don't close this bust dart, then it's not going to match up. Okay, now I'm trying to fill up. If you close your bust dart, the line will not, the side line will not align again. So I have just aligned it. Now just use your ruler to align it to make it straight. That's what I just did. Then I'll continue with the cutting. Yeah, our center front is out. Then I'm just going to cut out the side front. Nice. Nice. I'm still cutting out the overbust tightening. Then make sure you don't have any sharp edge around that area. If you have any sharp edge, please blend it so that your bustier will not be looking pointed. Okay? Good. So I'm just going to use my tape to tape down the bust dart. I'll tape it down now. So our side front is ready. Now I'm going to bring my center front. So this is the center front. Wow. You can see how beautiful our pattern is looking. It's looking so sweet. So now I'm going to bring my yoke. See the way my yoke is going to be attached. Can you see it? Please make sure you note where your yoke is going to be attached so that you will know where to put it. Like for me now, it's going to be attached at the joining. It's going to start from the joining of the bustier. You can see it. That's where my yoke is going to start from. You can see how beautiful our front pattern is looking. Let's move to the back. Now for the back, I've already drawn my starting point line. Then I'll mark my shoulder divided by 2, which is 7 inches. Then I'll mark my chest line, which is my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 2.5. You know, that's exactly what we use at the front, is 8.5. For mine is 8.5. I'm going to mark it, then roll it across like this. Then I'm going to mark my shoulder to half length. My shoulder to half length is 15, and that's the last line that is there. So you see, I'm measuring it. 15 is 2 inches shorter than the front. So, and I've marked my shoulder measurement. That same shoulder measurement I marked on the shoulder line, I'll drop it on my chest line. Then I'll draw a straight line. Then I'll go ahead and mark my basic neckline. Remember, I say always put your basic neckline, even if you're not going to use it at the long run. So my back basic neckline is 3 by 1. The width is 3 and the depth is 1 inch. So I'm going to connect it like so. Then I'll go to my shoulder line and I'll mark my shoulder slope. My shoulder slope for the back is 1 inch. 1 inch. It's usually not the same thing with the front. The front is 1.5 while the back is 1. So I'm going to connect it to my neck point. That is done. So now I want to mark my armhole. For me to get my armhole, I'm going to mark my bust measurement on my chest line, which is 9 inches, 36 divided by 4. So at that point, I'm going to divide it into 2. I'm going to divide this line into 2, get the midpoint. Then at that point, I'm going to go in by ½ inch. Then I'll connect these 3 points together. First with a straight line, then I'll finish it up with a curve, a smooth curve. Now we'll go straight to the waist. My waist measurement is 30. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. I'm going to impute it. Then I'm going to add my 1.5 inch dart intake. Then I'll connect it to the bust line, just like this. Then next thing we want to do is to mark our dart. We want to mark our dart. So what I'll do is I'll mark my bust pan measurement, which is 3.5. I'll mark it on the waist and I'll mark it on the chest line. Then I'll connect it with a straight line, just like this. Then I'll share that our dart intake of 1.5. I'll share it in between this line, but I'll go down by 1 inch at this point because our dart was not going to get there. Then I'll share my dart intake. I'll put 0.75 on this side and 0.75 on this side. Then I'll connect it to that 1 inch that we came down. So this is our dart. So the next thing I want to do is to do my back tightening. If I don't do this back tightening, it will make my back, my zipper not to be flat. So at this straight line here, I'm going to come in by 0.75. Then I'm going to connect it to the neckline. You see what I'm doing? I'm going to connect it to the neckline. This will give me a flat zipper at the back. So don't forget to return this 0.75. Return it back on the waistline and connect it back to your bust line. I didn't do that, but I later did it. I later realized I didn't do it on my pattern. Don't forget, return that 0.75 back to your waist. If not, you're going to have shortage on your waist. I hope you understand. So now I want to get my yoke for the back. So I'm going to use the front. See the way I'm placing the front to get exactly the width of the yoke. You can see it. Then exactly where the yoke stopped. Just bring your front yoke and place it at the back and just get the width, then get where it stopped. Then you can connect it. At this point now, I'm going to get my neckline first. I want a V neckline at the back. So I'm going to, from that part, I'm going to mark V. You see it, from that part where the yoke will stop, I'm going to just do slant. You can do whatever neckline you want, but this is what I want. Then I'm going to connect from that part down. I'm going to, at this lower part, I used 2 inches because it's 2 inches for the front one. I mean the lower part. So I'm going to use 2 inches too for the lower part. Then I'm going to connect that top where we use the front to mark, which is about 3 inches. So I'm going to connect from that 3 inches to that 2 inches below. So that is my yoke for the back. Wow, this is so beautiful. So I'll go ahead and label it as my yoke. So the next thing I want to do is to tighten this part. So I'm just going to open it up by 0.25 on both sides, and I'll connect it back to the dart. You see it? I'll just open it slightly just to give that back a little tightening. So I'll open it up by 0.25. Just 0.25 is okay. Then I'll connect it back to the dart leg. So now the dart is ready. I'll just shade it off. This part is going to go out. This is our dart, so it's going to go out. So the last thing I want to do on this pattern is to tighten the shoulder. You remember we tightened the shoulder by half, so I'm going to do the same thing so that the dress does not fall off on the shoulder, so that it stays put. So I'm going to go down by half, then connect it back to my armhole. So that part is going to go out. So when that is done, the next thing we want to do is to cut out this beautiful pattern. Our back is ready. So I'm just going to cut it out. So my people, if you have watched up to this point and you have not subscribed to my channel, or you have not even clicked on the like button, you have not even shared this video, haba now, what are you waiting for? After giving you this kind of bonge tutorial, you don't want to subscribe to my channel, you want to chop and clean out. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. I know you're a good person. Oh yeah, click on the subscribe button and like the video. Then share it to your friends that are tailors so that they can also enjoy what you are enjoying. Okay? Thank you. Now let's move on to the skirt pattern. Okay, so I've brought a fresh paper and I've drawn my starting point line. So the next thing I want to get is my waist to hip. My waist to hip is 9 inches. Yours can be 8, yours can be 10, 12, depends on your height. So mine is 9. So I'm going to rule it across. Then I'm going to mark my skirt length. My skirt length is my full gown length minus my half length. That's what is going to give me the lower part, which is my skirt length. So I'm drawing the line across. Now I'm going to mark my waist measurement on my waistline. My waist is 30. 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. I'm going to impute it. I'm not going to put that. The skirt is going to be that less. Then on my hip line, my hip is 41. I'm going to place hip divided by 4. I'm going to place the value there. That's 10.25. Then I'll come to the knee. What I'm going to use, exactly what I used on the hip, that is what I'm going to use on the knee. There's no shaping or anything. Whatever you use on your hip, your value you got for your hip divided by 4, that is exactly what you will use on your knee line. So I'm going to, or your skirt length or your knee line. My skirt didn't get to my knee, so you can just use it as a skirt length. So you just connect all this. So now for us to get the conical effect, you come to this your hip line and add 1 inch. Please don't do more than 1. But if you want it very exaggerated, mine was not very exaggerated. If you want yours to be more exaggerated, you can use 1.5. So now I'm going to connect it with a slight curve. You can see I'm no longer using a straight ruler. So you curve it like this from the waist to the hip. Then from that, your hip back to your knee line or your skirt length. You see it, use the curve. See the way I turn the curve. Make sure you use the curve like this, the way I used it, from the waist to the hip, from the hip to the knee. You see it, the only place we expanded was the hip. We still maintain the waist and we maintain the knee line. So now I want to do my waist shaping. I'll come down by 1 on the center front. Then I'll just curve it, just the way we used to curve our skirt to eliminate any puffiness at the front. That's just what I'm doing now. So I'm just going to curve it and we are done with the front pattern. I'm just going to cut it out. Then we'll move straight to the back. It's very easy. You can see it's very, very easy. So I'm just going to cut it out now. So after cutting out, I'm just going to label my pattern so that I will know where is center front, side front, and the top. So let's go straight to the back. So for the back, I've drawn my starting point line, which is my waistline. Now I'm drawing my waist to hip. Then I'll also draw my waist to skirt length. After doing that, I'll just draw all the lines. Then I will do my back tightening. The first thing I'll do is to take care of my back tightening so that my zipper can lay flat and beautiful. We did it for the upper bodies. We removed 0.75 at the back of the upper part. So now we have to do it on the skirt part too, so that everything will just go smoothly. So that's my center back. From my center back, I'm going to just take 0.75 out. That's what we did at the upper part too. So just take it out. Just connect it from the waist to the hip. Connect it and that's gone. Shade it out. You're not going to use it because your back is not flat in the first place. So why should you make your zipper line? Why should you make your center back flat? Now I'm going to mark my waist measurement from that my back tightening. 7.5 because 30 divided by 4 is 7.5. On the hip, I'm going to mark my hip divided by 4, which is 10.25. Then on the knee line, I will mark exactly what I mark on my hip. Exactly the measurement on my hip, I'll mark on my knee line. Then I'll just connect the lines just like we did at the front. Then I will go out from the hip by 1 inch, exactly what we did at the front. Then I'll connect it with my curve ruler. You see it? Connect it with your curve ruler. Then you cut out. It's as simple as that. It's very, very simple to do this skirt. Okay, so that this video is not going to be long, I'm going to end it at this drafting process. But immediately after you see this one, you will see the sewing tutorial because I'm not going to waste time. So thank you so much for joining me on this drafting pattern. I will see you in my sewing tutorial. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you don't subscribe to my channel before you leave here, we go fight though. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed teaching you. I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.